Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Legendarium Green Team. I'm the host, Cesky, and today I have with me the Solution
Hey, everybody.
and Eradandis.
Hey, guys.
And today we are talking about the sixth book in the Cradle Series by Will Wight, Underlord. Now, we've been ghosting through these books pretty fast, and Era, I know you did not like the fifth book, Ghostwater, as much. Did you like this book? Again, did it bring your expectations back up to the top?
This is my favorite.
You heard it there. For favorite book so far. Solution, how about you? Is this your favorite book as well?
No. I liked Ghostwater for all the reasons Era didn't, and that's actually my second favorite. My favorite is actually Winter Steel, which we'll cover last.
Yeah, well, don't spoil.
Right, and I won't spoil
here.
nothing. That's all I'll say.
Okay. I also really like this book.
Can we stop here for a second? Because
Sure.
I thought there was a really interesting point that happened to me in real life that I think kind of helped explain the difference between Solution and I on these books.
Okay.
I was telling you guys off screen that I was watching Hunter x Hunter with my son, and in one of the arcs, like you spend good half the series where all you do is train. Like literally, all you see on screen are the kids training over and over and over again. You don't do anything besides see them training. My son loved those portions. But then there's other stuff where people are talking and interacting and stuff's going on. Those were my favorite part.
Yeah.
He didn't care for those so much. So, anyways, I thought that was a good context.
Yeah. You heard it here. I'm just like Era's son.
That's right. We heard it here. And that is good context. That is good context because, truthfully, the fifth book really was just a lot of training, and I'm locked in a room and I can't do much. So there's parts that some people like more than other people. And, there's no shame. No shame in liking what you like or dislike. So,
Of course.
I thought I wanted to kind of talk briefly just about the progression chart we know so far in the series.
Let's hit it.
So, as we know, we start at copper, and then you move to iron, jade, low gold, high gold, true gold, underlord, overlord, archlord, and you can start becoming a sage kind of after in the overlord / archlord spot. We don't really have a clear understanding exactly of what that entails being a sage yet, but somewhere in there.
That's a Rapho, but we'll get to that. Yeah.
Then after that, there is the herald, and then the next tier up would be monarch.
Mm-hmm.
And then, because of Space Doctor, we know that there are titans, and that titans are kind of graded on a 1-star to 5-star, I would assume, scale. I don't know. Maybe they go up to 12 stars or something weird.
We don't know, because this is the first mention in the series that we get outside of Monarch and inside Cradle, like what a different tier would be. So we get the Titan, and it's classified that this, I don't want to call her a grunt or whatever soldier she is, she's a 1-star. Now, could that be something that's on the higher end of the scale, or do they start at 1-star and then they work their way up? I'm not really sure. That's something that we don't know yet, but that is something to speculate on, and I think it's pretty cool that we finally have an advancement stage outside of Cradle.
Yeah.
Well, and what we don't know either is Titan equivalent to, greater than, less than Monarch. We don't know that.
Yeah, we don't know.
That's true.
We do know potentially people can leave Cradle before their Monarch, and most do actually. That around the Archlord and Herald stages, they can start leaving Cradle. So, like you said, maybe Titan is somebody who's actually below Monarch, but is just classified outside the Cradle system and is a more universal term.
All right. Now, here's a question about the system that we have working, at least on Cradle, for you guys. I like that we started with kind of the metals system. I think that's a fairly common way to classify things. Copper, iron, jade, silver, gold. And obviously no silver in this one. But then we've started moving into underlords, the lord kind of category, then the herald kind of category, monarch category. Do you feel like that was a good choice? Do you think you would have liked it a little better or worse if it had kept with like the gemstone theme? You got jade, silver, gold, crystal, like diamond, platinum. I mean, what's your thoughts? Would that you like where you went with it, and then you kind of started separating? You got your gold as 3 groups, and your lord is 3 groups, and presumably your herald will be 3 groups. I mean, what's your thoughts on it, you guys?
I do have a thought, but it's going to bring in some other books, so I want to see what Era has first to say, and then I'll talk about some other books and their classification systems.
Okay.
Well, it seems like he has mirrored systems. So, for example, near the high end of what you can reach physically is low gold, high gold, true gold.
Mhm.
And then you start off at the lowest end on the next level, Underlord, Overlord, Archlord. That's kind of like a mirror. Does that make sense so far?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it seems like that. So it seems like the on the physical end, you start off like jumping up one level to the next, and then you have this last level, which is 3 levels to max out on.
Mhm.
Whereas then you get to the higher end, you have to get through these 3 levels. You have to through these 3 lord. You then go on to single steps beyond that. That's what it seems to me. So it seems to be like a kind of like a mirror of each other.
Mhm.
In terms of the classification, I didn't really think much of it until I believe it was maybe a podcast or two ago where you guys had first mentioned that going beyond gold involves something more than advancing your Madra or your physical abilities. It requires something else. So that to me kind of like slotted into place. It at least made it some sense, regardless of what he classified it beyond that. If he wants to do medals for the physical end and then another classification for beyond that, here he's using heralded titles. That's so. Soul.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, I think I'm on a similar page where I think of them as more the foundation levels, like those three, the copper, iron, jade, and then you do that last ford of the river that Urine calls it, where you got the gold is the 3, and then you finish with the bodily transformation as far as which you're kind of advancing, and then you go into the spiritual, you got another 3. I do want to compare it to another system that I like in the Arcane Ascension series. It's a very popular book, similar to Cradle, progression fantasy. What they do is they're using gemstones and their colors. So they're starting out at quartz where it's nice and clear. Then you're bleeding into the carnelian, the red. Then I think you're going to citrine, I want to say. So you go to yellow, and then you get to the green emerald with blue as a myth. So like sapphire is just a myth of a level. So they have these different tiers. So it's nice to see something that's Will Wight has his divided in sections of 3, so there's technically 333. It's more of a spectrum of a rainbow on the Arcane Ascension series, which is pretty cool. So I think it's a different take. I actually prefer Andrew Rowe's Arcane Ascension series better, but his is more math defined, where every tier up is, I believe, 12 times the mana it takes than the tier before. So it's easy to quantify, and they get into that. But that's more of a lit RPG than this is a progression fantasy.
Right. No, that's fair. And I don't have any particular issue with it. I just thought it was interesting that we started with the medals and then we moved over. And I think, like you guys have said, it's definitely about that the bodily progression till gold, and then past the bodily progression is just the titles, more heralds, lord, sage, so on and so forth.
And the names
So-
are cool. I will say that. I love the title names, like Herald, Monarch, pretty cool. And if I did have a problem with them, I would let it slide just because of those titles. They're really cool.
All right. So what's the next one to get introduced? You know, we've got Sage, Herald, Monarch. What's your first prediction? What's the next title?
Oh, for like outside the
Well, we
cradle?
got-
Eric?
I was like, we know there's Titan, right? So
Yeah.
why
Yeah,
not Cyclops, Etten, Giant?
I'm thinking
Titan?
like
Okay, Ed, and I like Ed, and that's a good one.
Eden. I was thinking like a behemoth or like
Behemoth, there you
Leviathan
go.
or something that's like.
Okay.
I know that there's worm references.
Now
but
you're just
something
pulling
that's-
the word references.
Yeah,
there.
I thought about it afterwards. It's like no, but more of just things that are like he said, like mythical creatures and mythical beings that are just like top tier. I'm thinking that something like from there that he pulls.
Okay, that's great. That's great. And then I also like that they explained it in the book a little bit. The first kind of section, the medals are mastering yourself, and now the next set of advancements from Underlord on is mastering the world around you and connecting yourself to the world around you. So I thought that was kind of a little thing there. So
Can I say I got it wrong because I think I called it, was it last book, that the monarch would have some type of tie to the world and that would separate it from the people who left. Apparently that's not the case. So
It's okay. We like your guesses.
yeah,
And we did mark down some of them for later too. So we'll bring up more times that you guessed incorrectly. because that's one of our favorite things. So
That's one of everybody's
Great.
favorite things.
yeah.
So we're gonna have a 2-hour podcast. Is that what we're having?
Oh no, we won't fight back. We're just gonna say you're wrong, and then you can talk, and we'll just let it go.
Yeah. So, what were some of you guys' favorite scenes or favorite kind of experiences in this book? Solution, do you want to go first?
Oh boy. Okay. So one of my favorite, and I see somebody else also put it here, I believe, is surprising Ethan with Dross. Because this was a moment he did not think was like a big deal, and Ethan was very nonchalant. He was like, "Oh yeah, I know about Dross, your mind spirit." And then he realized how advanced Dross is and how close to our presence. Like not completely, but it's on its way. Then he starts going through this entire thing and he starts cackling like a madman with Dross. And I think that what is the line? Our uprising will be swift and like what is it, something like that? It's hilarious. It's a great moment. It's really fun.
Yeah, I definitely put that down because that's like the first time you ever see Ethan, who's, he has that bloodline, so he sees everything around him. He's never surprised. He knows what's coming before you even know it's coming. And, Lyndon just is like, well, here's Dross. And he's like, what? He just like, you can see like the error is like clicking in his brain. Like, this is not what I was expecting. And
He's
then,
a planner. We know that. And he did not plan that.
Aaron, what about you? What are some of your favorites from this book?
There's two that come to mind. So one of the things I do like what Will Wight does is he's pretty good about getting meta, where the person will act in character, but he'll do or say something that's clearly a pop culture reference. And here, I think there's one scene where, he, to Soul's point, he's cackling and then he rubs his hands together and goes, yes, yes, like that. So
yeah,
I thought that was pretty funny. So that was a good moment. And then the other part I like was the way and method and the kind of the whole underlying theme of what it takes to advance to Underlord. That was actually probably my favorite part of the book.
good.
Yeah.
I'm
No,
glad.
that
I
was
was
good.
hoping you'd like that. Yeah.
I think we'll definitely talk about that in just a minute.
Okay.
But I just wanted to say another couple favorite scenes, of course. Of course, I love that Ethan sets them up right next to where, of course, to rephrase it for everyone, the Black Flame Empire has been invited to participate with the Empire that owns them, and they basically get a free training session. They go to this place. It's through a portal. They train. They get rewards. They leave. Then they all, whoever advances, and Ethan has them sitting right at the base of where the portal is going to show up at. And he's like, all right, everybody, just get ready and start running. And then the portal appears and they're like the first ones in it. And they're like, all right, everybody, like, let's separate and let's loot everything. It just reminded me of like playing games, because that's what you do in a game. You go in and you go one section and you take everything that's not nailed down. And then you move to the next section and you take everything that's not nailed down.
Yeah.
And then, they converge and then they start working and cultivating and training. And but just that was, I like that scene that they kind of got the jump on everybody, of course.
Yeah, well, that's what this game is tailored for, like Era mentions, for people who like video games and animes. And these are the kinds of people that they start a video game, they see a map, okay, cool, I go in one direction, and you're like, okay, this is going to lead me to a cutscene, I better stop. I got to go to the other sides of the map, make sure I don't lose anything, I want to loot everything I can, and then I'm going to continue with the game. I think that's for these types of people, I know that's kind of a popular thing to do. I do it. I don't think I'm in the minority, I don't think, but I know that's a very popular way of playing, and I feel like this is shown here.
I agree, and I also want to say, in terms of like a literary point in the book, so one of the things I liked about Underlord contrasted with the Ghostwater, in this book, they were told you're going to go to X location, you're going to be given this much time to train, you're going to be competing with other people, these are the goals you have, good luck. So, and then once they were given that goal, the characters were able to act with agency within that framework, and then they made choices knowing about the end goal in mind, aside from just trying to survive or happening upon this random cache of materials. They knew they were going to an area where they could get some power, and they acted accordingly. So I like the setup of Underlord much better than I did the setup for Ghostwater.
Okay. Yeah. Great. What did you guys feel about the Sage the Sage, the Lady of Owls, Mercy's aunt, who kept watching Lyndon and then tweaking everything to be a disadvantage of him. Like, hey, the Seishine Empire, if you go kill this Black Flame dude, rewards could be yours. I mean, I know that it's, we see it kind of as a good thing. It helps temper Lyndon and helps kind of gives him that person to fight against to become stronger. But what do you guys feel about that? Was well written, well played, not?
I liked it because she made it very clear. Like when you kind of saw it from her point of view, what she wanted to do was to rip his heart out. Like that's what she wanted to do. But then she was able to control and discipline herself and think it through logically. And she's like, the better thing to do would be to see whether this kid, who I recognize has potential, whether he can be used to help replace what he caused us to lose, which in that case was Akura Harmony, right? So she has no reason to be gentle or nice with him, but she sees a potential to make him into something useful for her. So she gets to observe it and gets to push the buttons in such a way that she gets to see whether Lyndon can be something of benefit to her. So I thought, even though she actively doesn't like him, at least to start the book, in my opinion, I think she kind of softens on him a little bit towards the end. She's acting logically within the constraints of the world.
Yeah, totally
fair.
Fair.
She's rational, develops her character. Like you said, she softens up towards him. She's replacing Lyndon now with replacing Harmony with Lyndon because she knows she needs people. And we see that at spoilers for the end of the book. Lyndon is chosen for the Akura team for the Uncrowned tournament because she thinks, I spoiled it, sorry.
I'm kidding.
Yeah,
I'm kidding.
This is a big deal because the Akura team is the prime team. This is the mega team, and then you got those outlying teams that are the Black Flame Empire and whatever other teams they have inside the Akura faction. So pretty interesting result there.
No, I definitely agree with you guys that it's a win-win for her either way. Either she gets to take vengeance on Lyndon for killing, Harmony, or she gets to a fighter who is hopefully more obedient and like less prideful than Harmony was, because Harmony was kind of he was pretty set in his ways. But
yeah,
I think during the book, sorry, what?
No, go ahead.
I was to say,
because there's two other points I want to come back to.
Yeah, I think she learns in the middle-ish of the book that, North Strider was there, and that Harmony really messed his own way up out of the thing, that Lyndon did offer and try to help Harmony, but Harmony refused it because of his pride. And so, while I don't think that would obviously completely stifle her feelings, I think it definitely helps soften her a little bit to Lyndon, to being like, okay, he didn't go in there and maliciously just like kill Harmony or like trick Harmony.
Right.
He fought him to a standstill, which earned her respect, and then he tried to help him, but was refused. So
sorry to interrupt you, because I was going to say I think there's a good compare and contrast between the Sage and the Sky Nazi and Narugwe, who they both decided to end up using Lyndon for, quote, their benefit, but they come from different places. So the reason I keep on calling the guy Sky Nazi is because he's reacting and responding emotionally and through a set of preconceptions and stereotypes. That's how he's acting every step of the way, and you can understand his conduct through that lens. Whereas the Sage, as we just discussed, she does have her prejudices, she does have her preconceived notions, she does have her emotions, but she's able to take it, compartmentalize it, put it away, and then think and act rationally. So I think there's a good compare and contrast between the two. And the other point that I want to bring up, that I want to come back to, if we recall, Akura Harmony was unable to advance to Underlord. He was given a clue as to how to advance.
Yeah.
I'll be curious as to what you guys think. What would have been Akura Harmony's realization when we get to
we can get into it now.
Yeah.
Okay.
Let's start talking about it. So to advance, we'll just set the stage. To advance from a true gold into an Underlord position, you have to make a realization about yourself, a true realization about yourself, basically why you perform the martial arts, why you continue practicing day in and day out, right? What's your like your true motivation? So let's talk about the three first, our three main, I think, and then we can talk about Harmony and others, right?
Okay. Yeah, I have something to say about Harmony, and we'll get there.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I want to just give some examples of some.
Yeah.
So let's talk about Lyndon first. Lyndon is working, and he's really struggling with this for a while. Mercy actually helps him figure it out, and his ideal is that he practices the martial arts, which we'll just term magic using, of course, so that he is not worthless, because that's and yes, Era, he is not worthless, and that's true. But when you look at his past, he's always been made to feel worthless.
He's the unsouled.
That's right. He was unsold. He had no ability, nothing because of that. And now he is, that's why he practices, is to prove to himself. Yaren, her ideal is that she practices the martial arts so that she doesn't lose anybody else in her life. Because of her blood shadow, she dealt with a lot of death, and everyone around her would die at a young age. When she was young, that happened. And so her goal is to be able to control herself, to control her blood shadow, to not kill or harm other people. Any thoughts? Am I missing anything there, you guys? No?
No, pretty good.
Okay.
Okay.
And Mercy's is one of the more interesting ones, I kind of feel like. And hers, which she refuses to admit until the very end, is that her ideal, she practices the martial arts to make her mother proud. So let's talk about this. These ideals, they are who they are at this moment.
Yeah.
This ideal does not mean you are locked into this kind of perception or this feeling forever.
Yeah, it's more of a self-acceptance or like a mindfulness approach where you're recognizing your current emotional state and how you view the world in a more general view. Not that you're going to be, like you said, that way forever, but that's who you are now.
Yeah, kind of your weakness, your mental weakness almost. Eric, what do you think about the advancement ideal situation?
Yeah, this is my favorite part of the book, is that because it does have this level 3 thing to it where, look, in life, if you want to get beyond a certain point, if you want to get beyond wherever it is, at some point, like if you want to get beyond wherever it is, whether it's high school or college or graduate school, at some point you're going to have to push yourself beyond your limits, and you're going to have to say, hey, look, you have to come to a realization of what matters to me. Do I really want to do this? Do I want to make the sacrifices and kind of go on and push through it? I know I certainly had to become what I did in my profession, and I'm sure everybody else has to go through that realization. Or if they don't, they're going to end up limiting themselves. So I like that kind of, there's a real world kind of parallel here to that. And whether people do it unconsciously or not, I think that does happen. So that's kind of like what I think of generally. And as it applies here, I thought it was kind of funny that it's something that Will Wight makes the point that all the main characters were embarrassed to kind of, I'm ashamed to realize that this is what kind of like who I am. And you know what? And actually, I like that framing. Yeah, this is something I don't like about myself, and I'm going to work on it going forward. So I like that also.
Yeah, it definitely is. I would think that at this point, all we've seen so far, like you said, are people who have been mostly kind of ashamed of their own thoughts. But I think at the same time, there's really, from an objective point of view, there's nothing to be ashamed of in those things. You know what I mean? Lyndon not wanting to be worthless, I don't think that's something to be ashamed of. Now, he might be, of course, because he wants to be strong and he wants to be tough. And I don't think, if you look at them kind of just out of line and out of order, you pull out those reasons, they're nothing to be really ashamed of. It's just your wants and your desires. But yeah, I think this is my spoiler / non-spoiler, because I don't know. My prediction is that working on this ideal, changing your ideal or kind of solving your own issue is going to be what pushes you to Overlord. So for Lyndon, it would be like truly accepting that he's not worthless, or Lyndon or Mercy maybe realizing that, no, I want to practice the martial arts for myself, not to make my mother proud, kind of a thing. I don't know. I guess
Yeah,
we'll see.
that's a Raffo, so I can't comment too much on that.
Oh man, and if we're gonna do this, I'm gonna say take what you said, Cesky, and I'm
Uh-huh.
going to say that realization you get Underlord. If there's some deepening understanding of it or some deepening meaning to it, I think that's what gets you to Sage.
Okay, I like it.
So I'm I don't
Okay,
Rapho, right?
Yeah,
well,
We'll
we
see.
can do sage hints and stuff like that, but actually, no, we're just gonna raffle that. I don't want to do it. I want to
yeah.
get back to what we're
Well,
talking about.
let's talk about harmonies, right?
Well, right before that,
Okay.
Lyndon and all them not feeling like shameful. These are still kids. They're still. I think Lyndon is now 18, I believe, at this time. Or no, he actually might still be seven. He might be 17 or so. He's like an 18-year-old kid. And I feel like kids in high school, to me, would be like, I don't know, maybe they would feel shameful about that stuff. What do you think about that?
I have zero problem. This is actually, again, this is one of my favorite parts of the book. Not only that, to Chesky's point, that's a realization about a weakness of theirs, but that B, to your point, Soul, that given their age and their experiences, that it would be something they would be ashamed about, even if, as we all agree, it's not something that they really should be ashamed about. So I think that this entire setup, everything that we've just discussed, that I like the way it was framed. I like the way kind of Will implemented it. It was my favorite. Again, I hate to harp on it, but all of it was well done, including the little emotional arcs and journeys character took, and even that mirroring that each one had mentioned that they were ashamed. I think that's an important thing, given their ages and experience.
Yeah. No, I agree with you. I think we're all on the same page of how we feel about it, that we like it, and that I like that point that you just brought up, though, Soul and Air, about that. One last thing I want to say, and then we'll talk about Harmony and perhaps Ethan, right? So the one last thing. Oh, what was I even going to say? Oh, I was going to say, I think one of the reasons why they mentioned it earlier in the books that if you don't hit Underlord by a certain stage, you'll almost never hit Underlord,
Right.
right? And I would say that that is because after you've reached a certain age, usually in your 30s to 40s or, around there, you become kind of set in your ways and it's really tough for you to look at your own weaknesses. I mean,
Yeah.
I can't speak for everyone, but I know for myself, looking at your own weaknesses is not a fun thing to do. So, um,
No.
let's talk about Harmony, though. What would Harmony's ideal be? We don't see a whole lot of him,
Okay, here's
but
what we know about Harmony, okay? We know he comes from this super awesome family, right? And Mercy's like, yeah, we got tutors, we got all these awesome things that you guys need that I don't really need because I can just go to my mom and become Underlord. So she, we know Akira Harmony had all this stuff because he replaced Mercy as the genius prodigy of the family. So he goes to Ghostwater. He's literally just channeling his energy. He's just kind of doing his thing, telling everybody to be quiet, killing people left and right. And then he finally gets his Ghostwater drop, and he goes to this tree of knowledge, this Yggdrasil, and is like, "Hey, how do I get to Underlord?" Because he knows how to get to Underlord. He knows it's something that's about him. And he asks this tree, he's like, "How do I become an Underlord?" As if this tree knows everything inside of Harmony. I feel like it was a stupid question. That's why I think Harmony is an idiot, not just a jerk. He's an idiot.
that's a fair assessment.
Now, Era, you can put me down because I feel like when I call anybody an idiot, I feel like maybe he's got some comeback. Do you have anything as far as Harmony being smart?
I like what you had to say.
Yes,
I mean, look,
personal victory.
I, I like what you had to say. Look, I mean, look, the Harmony. So if we look back at Ghostwater and what I said back then, I said that Harmony is basically the epitome of what you would expect people to act in this world, and it might make for a right world. All I'm going to pay attention to is advancing myself, and if you don't personally help me, you are worthless and you will die. And that was brought up at the beginning, and then that's happened to him at the end, because Ghost Rider is essentially a grown-up version of Harmony in terms of his conduct, and he let Harmony die because Harmony provided no benefit. I mean, it was literally they were a mirror image to each other in terms of their conduct. Now,
Right.
what do I think Harmony's thing would have been? I think it would have been, I don't like being a loser, or I do this out of pride. I do this out of vanity. You know, to me, those would be my two guesses for
Definitely sounds right. Yeah, I'm thinking like maybe because I'm the best and I have to show everybody I'm the best or something like that.
Yeah. No, I definitely agree. His is definitely pride related. I think that's about as far as we can really hazard without knowing more about him. But you know, I just thought of this. You know, what would we see? Ethan has been an Underlord for a while, and now we don't really know anything about Ethan. So, if you can't think of anything, that's fine. But what would Ethan's ideal have been? Why does he practice the martial arts?
It's got to be. I know he loves his plans and he's looking towards the future. It's got to be something like I practice for all of Cradle, or I practice for my Aurelius line, or something like that. My ancestors, something like that. I don't know.
Okay, Eric, do you have any thoughts?
So that to me is what I think Ethan's thing is. I don't like being ignorant. I don't like not knowing, or maybe that's something like I don't like being in control. I don't like, I like having control, the positive version of that, right? And then I guess this is a Raffo, but since we're on Ethan, I'm gonna bring this up again because now we're at the stage where everybody's an Underlord. Like, what in the world is holding Ethan back aside from just his own decision to not go up?
I think.
I mean,
this we can now have this discussion, and I think I can handle that without spoiling anything. And I think Cesky can as well. What do we think Ethan is doing right now? Do we think he's sandbagging? Do we think he's actually out of block? What do you think, Era? And then we can get into what we think.
Well, I think there's two things going on. One, I think he has, unless there's some other way to go beyond the Lord that requires some spiritual advancement, then maybe there's that. But ultimately, I think he said back in Black Lane, he's waiting for some people to keep on advancing with. And so I think he's just waiting for, he's found these other people to catch up. So I think that's part one. Do I think he's stronger than look? He's the strongest Underlord we've seen, as far as I'm concerned. I don't think we've seen an Underlord stronger.
Yeah, his ranking is obviously a joke to him. He could easily be number one in the Black Flame Empire if he wanted to.
Right. So I think he can easily advance a level. I just think he's just waiting for somebody else, unless there's some other block or there's something else that we don't know about. So that's my thoughts.
Cesky, what do you think before I jump in with something a little wild?
Before you hot take us, I think Era is pretty much 100% right as well. That Ethan has been waiting for a group of people, or at least one other person, to make the advancement with him, because, like he said, everybody who advances, the pool gets smaller and smaller, and it's a lonely road. And I think Ethan, being Ethan, doesn't, particularly want that. Yeah. Plus, I think if we remember back to his Marvel vision, it talks about Osriel saying, get a group and rise up and join us without the rules, so that you can, fix the things that the rules can't fix, because the bureaucracy is limited and holding it back, kind of way. So I think that's he's just been waiting for a group that he can see is as dedicated as he is. And I think he will easily advance when the time comes to Overlord, at the very least.
Yeah, I think he definitely is sandbagging. I think he could go at any moment. I think he's waiting for this Underlord tournament, this Uncrowned King tournament. Because when we first meet him in Soulsmith, in the second book, we know he's said he has years for something. So that's why he's trying to pick out some prodigies. And he's like, okay, look, we got a sage's disciple or whatever. So we got a year and some genius. And we got this moldable dude who's got two twin stars, two paths he can process. So we can do Ethan's path. And then Ethan can mold this kid into something else, some wild and crazy monster. And that's what Lyndon is. So I think Ethan has been advancing his team mindset instead of just his personal thing, because he's sandbagging for Overlord and he wants to get more crew to do that Overlord. And I think he did it. I think he actually got, like you said, Underlord is here. We have the Uncrowned King. Sorry, the tournament is here, and we have Yiren and Ethan are on the team, and then we have Lyndon is on the other team. still helping the Black Flame. So I feel like Ethan planned this, if we know anything, and I know that's a little weird, but I feel like he definitely is sandbagging and trying to get his whole team to Underlord.
Okay, that sounds good. I forgot to mention earlier that to also advance to Underlord, you have to be able to open a soul space inside yourself, right? To basically store an item without actually holding it. What would you guys put in your soul space? I know it starts off really small, about the size of a bean.
Yeah, a little soul bean.
But let's assume you guys have a moderately sized soul space. You can fit, one thing of any size.
Okay.
What would you guys put in it?
In the cradle?
Kindle.
In you, just you personally.
Okay.
In the real world. Oh,
Kindle.
Kindle. You can't steal mine.
Hey, done. I'm free.
Yeah,
done.
we did ask him first,
else.
so we did get to go.
That was my mistake.
In the Cradle world, I would want the only thing cool about Akura Harmony. I want his axe with that thing that like shoots an after image of red hands. Very cool. That'd be awesome. I love his axe.
All right, but real world, what would you put in?
Oh, probably just like my wallet, so I don't have to worry about losing that or like anything like that. Like some like little bag with like my wallet, my phone, my keys, and I'll just be like, I'm never gonna lose it. Cool. I don't have to do the triple tap when I walk out the door. Be awesome.
That's a good one. You guys have taken all the really good things here. You got, your Kindle for all your book reading needs. You got your keys in your wallet for all your traveling needs. I don't know. I guess I would just put my laptop with it in a charger.
That's pretty good. Okay.
So I'll have to go with that. But
while we're on the soul spaces, can people breathe in the soul space? Because has Lyndon put Little Blue in the soul space? Is that a spoiler I just spoiled?
He has not put her in his soul space, but she has gone in the closet soul space.
Okay. So can we assume that possibly closet soul spaces, those void keys, and the soul spaces inside Underlords and above are similar as far as how they work and function?
I would assume so. I have nothing to believe otherwise.
So could you fit, like, what can you fit in there? If you could fit a little blue, you're not constrained to inanimate objects like a Kindle or a laptop.
Wow. I'd have to be able to convince someone to willingly go into it. So that might be a problem.
Right,
hey, doctor, live in this space and just come out when I need medical attention.
But I think the Cradle world has some uses for that though. Like they could start hiding people, or I don't know. Like, what if you could hide Yaren inside your soul space and be like, boom, 2-on-1 now, and then like all of a sudden just do that? I don't know. I feel like we could.
How much space do we know it holds?
If it can hold an axe, I think Akura Harmony's axe is supposed to be like as tall as Lyndon, right? With this huge
blade. It grows as you grow, so it can get quite big, I believe.
So could a monarch hold like an entire person in there? Just be like, hey, throw them out?
What would be the point of hiding somebody if you're a monarch? You're already stronger than everybody.
Well, what if you wanted to like team up and like you could put them in there and then you could take them out?
I think you're chasing a pipe dream there, so nobody's gonna want to go in there and just wait or come out when you do.
It does seem scary. I'll give you that. Yeah. Definitely seems scary. Okay.
You sure can. So, we've been talking about skill versus talent for a while now, right? And it looks like we're finally going to get our answer next book. I would say that, right? Because we got Yaren on one team and Lyndon on another. The skill versus talent, right? I mean, and I'll say one of the things I forgot to mention that I did like in this book is Yaren pretty much taking out the most powerful Underlord they were facing, pretty much with one hand tied behind her back on the basis of she's just better than everybody else. I mean, look, in full disclosure, she's my favorite so far. I mean, because she practices all the time. She's very skilled at what she does. I like that.
She is.
Yeah.
So I think we're going to get a whole skill versus talent thing right now. Yaren versus Lyndon. I hope my prediction is I hope they go against each other, and I hope like heck Yaren wipes the floor with Lyndon up one way and down the other.
You just want him to destroy him, huh?
Well, look. So Lyndon's going to have a mental block. Because Lyndon's going to have a mental block. He's going to say, "Oh, I can't hurt Yaren."
Yeah, of course.
Yaren's going to and she's not going to have any of that.
Yeah, it's going to be all apologies and bowing and stuff. Yeah, of course.
Whatever, right? And look, even with a year of training, and I'm sure Lyndon's going to be, quote, a monster. He's going to like be super awesome and everything. I did look. It would defeat the purpose of the series, as far as I'm concerned. If in 1 year Lyndon can be out more skilled than Yiren with a lifetime of training in the
All right.
sword.
I'm not spoiling. I just want to say, I think about how Lyndon has more of like a deadly path as far as the Black Flame. I mean, like I know Yiren has swords and everything, also a very offensive path, but Black Flame at low gold. Sorry, my neighbors. At Black Flame low gold, Lyndon takes off the True Gold's arm. 2 advancement stages above him. Even if you want to say it's only 1 because it's still gold, it's still way up there. So that's something that's just to throw out there. Lyndon is very offensively capable.
Yeah. I will say I like what you're thinking though, Era. So were you guys tricked, or not tricked, because tricked is the wrong word. Were you guys surprised when the sage, I don't forget her name, Akura Charity, picks Lyndon for the Akura team instead of picking for the Black Flame team? Like, I kind of was thinking, oh yeah, it'll be Ethan, Lyndon, and Yiren, and then, Mercy on the other team. Did it surprise you at all, or no? You saw it coming?
I'll say that I was anticipating her picking somebody. I thought she was going to pick Yiren.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. I was not focused on that at all. I was just like, Lyndon's gonna get it. He's our man. We got Yiren. We got Lyndon. Now we got Merson. Like, this is gonna be awesome. And then I thought, okay, she doesn't pick him, and I was actually pretty sad for a second. And I just kept reading. I was like, oh, okay, that's fine. So he did get me. Will got me, and I was too caught up in the moment to really think. Wait a second, is Lyndon not gonna? He's just gonna sit on the sidelines and not go to the tournament? Well, all his friends go, because that would seem kind of boring. But yeah. I didn't think Will would do that. So
no worries. So, all right, I think we're getting pretty close to our time, but we have to talk about our favorite person, Suriel, the Space Doctor. And I think, Era, you mentioned this, that you liked the way that she was put in this book, where it was kind of the first and the last chapter. Is that right?
Yes.
Yeah. Why? What? I just want to explain a little bit why you like that positioning.
So we're talking about a progression lit, and we had already talked earlier in this podcast about video games and how you advance in video games. So what you usually see is you see a cutscene, right, of this is how you're going to be when you progress like through 3/4 of the game, or when you've done this portion of the game. So you get to see Suriel and what's going on there, and you get to kind of say, oh wow. So Ethan, Yiren, Lyndon, at some point they're going to be there. That's pretty neat. I like to see them get there. And so that, at least to me, provides momentum going into the series, because then when you see them and they still have a long way to go, or they still have some way to go before they even get to that point, that to me is a good literary device to kind of provide some excitement and some impetus going into it. And then kind of when you're ending it, you're kind of going, oh, and that part of the story is still progressing. So I kind of like that, and especially in a book whose whole reason for being is to show the advancement from one stage to the next.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I don't know, what do you guys think?
So?
Yeah, about the same. I like he said that it's mostly about like a frame of reference. You know what is eventually books down the line going to come into play. And it makes things feel important. Like, what's going on in Cradle is still affecting Howard Middle School outside of Cradle in this multiverse with, I don't know if that's the right word, but how many thousands of different planets and solar systems. And it's very interesting.
Yeah. I also like it. I liked that this one, not more, but in a different way than the other books, really kind of expands the world of Abadan. We see the first non-judge character that we have progression type stuff for, the Titan. I forget her name, I'm sorry. We also see the enemies of the Abadan, the Vroshir, excuse me, who just want, who we don't know what they want. They want to control their own worlds. They want presences. They try to take the Titan's presence.
They want their little dross.
I don't know why, Yeah. I mean, obviously it's a great military advantage to have something like that, but that makes me wonder, like, oh, what's this? I like just kind of opens up a lot more questions I have about it, where other questions have been kind of shelved for now, and we see other things coming into play with them, I think. But so I like that as well, kind of a start and an end, and more questions.
Okay.
I'll say this about the ending. I was pleasantly surprised. I was not expecting it, so I was surprised and pleased to see Orthos teaming up with Lyndon's sister. That was nice. Come on, I was like,
Yes.
oh, okay. I had totally forgotten about her, and then like Orthos shows up, and I'm like, and then of course the way he ended, that was an admittedly cool way to kind of end it. No, a dragon attacks.
Yeah, Dragon
I like that.
Advances. Uh-huh.
Yeah, dragon advances. Yeah.
Yeah.
Can we talk about how cool Orthos is and that he left? Eithan knew this was going to happen, and Orthos leaves because this is a journey for a sacred beast with his family, and he feels like his family, Lyndon, is leaving him, so he's going to go grab Lyndon's family that's way behind, and he's like, you know what? I'm going to drag you guys with me, and I feel like that's what he's doing. Orthos wants to catch up, but he knows he's not going to be able to compete on Lyndon and Yiren and now Mercy's level, and just decides to make his own way, which is a cool thing. He's a cool turtle.
Yeah.
I like him.
And I'm sure you noticed this, Era, because you are a good reader. But Orthos in Sacred Valley is at a much diminished power level, as you can see, and he even mentions it.
Saw that, so that kind of corroborates what I said before, that I think it's encircled by a gigantic script.
Yep.
And the one thing that I can't make myself figure out is, how does that script get powered, right? Because that's kind of like what
I have an idea.
Yeah, I think it's fair to speculate now. Now's a good time. Chesky, go ahead. You can jump in first.
I will speculate. I think it's because of the ring of Samasu or whatever it is that they have over at the top of that over there.
Samara.
Samara.
It's named actually after, fun fact, the movie The Ring. He named it after that main character, Samara. So there you go.
So,
he wanted a ring on the mountain.
I would think it has something to do with that. Like the rune is basically like it is the mountain range, or it's kind of around the mountain range, which is why the schools on the edge of the mountain range have a lot of jades, whereas when you're in the valley itself, you don't. Right? So it's more effective in the center, right? But then if you live on the mountain range, you can go to jade, and it has to do with the ring of Samara getting power from the sun or something. I don't know.
Okay, actually, I think you just may have solved something that I had an issue with. Okay.
Yes.
Because why did Yiren, if notoriously Orthos can't even be gold, how did she advance to gold while still in Sacred Valley? It's because she's on the very rim, the outskirts of the script. Now, also, to Era's point, I think what's powering the script? They are powering the script. That's what's taking all of their levels. And they're the ones that are powering the script. Now, what are we doing? That I have to RAFO because I don't want to spoil anything, and we will find out soon.
Okay. Now
and well, wait. Then there's one other question is, okay, it's suppressing the valley, right? So what is underneath the valley, or what is it about the people in the valley that it's suppressing? Because you at least have monarchs to face dread gods. So what is it that's more powerful than a dread god?
Oh, that is... You are making me think some things, that maybe this other labyrinth that they're on top of is not just a labyrinth, it's something more, or, more dread beasts that have been sealed away or something. That is thinky. You are thinking. Okay, this is my last question for you guys.
Okay.
Do you guys remember Elder Whisper from Book 1?
Of course, Sacred Beast.
What advancement level do you guys think he is? Because he seemed pretty powerful.
Well, I think he's well above gold. But, like we see with Orthos, he is now a jade. But I feel like he's at least Underlord, and he tempered his body to the sacred beast form that he wants to be. Did he want to be a human? No, he wanted to stay as a fox. So I feel like he went on that path. He knew going in. He always wanted to be a fox. He's now at this Underlord level or above, possibly, Arc Lord of the sacred beast. And he is chilling at jade, just like we see Tim, the sword sage, going all the way down from sage to being able to be killed by jades. So I feel like Elder Whisper is probably pretty high up there, but at least Underlord or above.
What do you think, Same?
I think so. I think Soul's got it. I mean, whatever level he actually is, He's no stronger than Jade when he's within the valley. But
Right.
how strong he is, we know he's like incredibly old.
Yep.
We know he has a lot of knowledge. So, which I find that really interesting because Orthos was what 300 before he went to Ghostwater, and he was kind of pushing the edge. He was getting old, right?
True.
And so that makes me think that this fox has a really extended lifespan.
Well, I think also Orthos' lifespan is also hindered by his black flame path, and that it helps with like the dimension breaking down their body a little bit more. I'm not sure if that's the equivalent we should use for all sacred beasts, but I do know that even humans above Underlord live for quite a long time.
Yeah. I am going to push back on both of you just because
What?
I can.
You're wrong.
I feel like, well, okay, that's probably true. I'm wrong
Okay.
more often than I'm right, but I think Elder Whisper was at a higher level, and I think he knows quite a lot more than even we would think he knows. I think he
Yeah.
could be the level of a monarch or a herald, in that he might be being suppressed. He might be the one who instituted the suppression. But I think,
yeah, he's a watcher. Like he's there for a reason, and he knows
yeah,
what's underneath in the labyrinth. I feel like he's definitely in on it.
I think he's there. He's obviously there on purpose. I think he's incredibly powerful, and I think that the scripts that are there to protect him and keep him safe
Yeah.
inside, I don't think they really are as effective as everyone thinks they would be. If he wanted to get
Right.
out, I think he could. So I hope we see him again. I was remember him at the end of this book when we started going back to Sacred Valley, and I thought, I wonder if he's going to start playing a bigger role, because
Oh
even
yeah.
in the beginning he saw Lyndon's potential, I think, and knew
We'll
what would
definitely see
happen.
him. I think so. I feel like he's a warden, if anything. Like he is guarding this or something like that. That's what I feel like. Because he's in a
Yeah.
huge tower, and everybody follows the dude's path. That's basically this guy's path, and I feel like he's like the warden. Okay.
Sounds good to me.
Well, and I guess to your guys' point, Lyndon makes a point of mentioning how everybody else's illusions are kind of pathetic compared to what they can do in the Sacred Valley.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's true.
Just thought I'd point that out.
Okay.
Mhm.
Well, I think that's going to be everything for us today, unless either of you guys had anything else you wanted to bring up.
I do got one or two things I do want to say. Some very funny scenes is I really like when Lyndon. All right, first scene. He's with the cannon. Okay, he pulls out a cannon from his soul space, shoots. I believe Kiro is he's facing at the time. He shoots Kiro. He's got like 6 different bindings on this cannon, just blowing up all at once. He's like, cool. He pulls out a second cannon because he's like, that's like the equivalent of, oh, I can't change my magazine. Nope. Toss the gun out and bring out another gun because I didn't feel like just changing the mag. And then he just blows up again. Awesome. Super fun. And then the last thing I want is just when he's looting Daji's body, when he's unable to fight back, blocked by Mercy's arrows and kind of stuck. He's like, oh, I'm just going to take this armor you're wearing because I kind of want it. And you're just snarling at me saying you're going to kill me. And he takes that. He's got chipmunk cheeks. He's looting this palace. He's just doing everything crazy. He's Hoarder Lyndon. I love when we get to see Hoarder Lyndon.
The only last point I want to make is I would encourage anybody who likes this series to take a travel back in time and find the books written by R.A. Salvatore in the Dritz de Worden series. The first book's the Halfling's Gem. That's the first book that was published. But really, you can start at the beginning of Dritz's life and kind of follow his journey. He's a Dark Elf Ranger in the Forgotten Realms. As you know, Dark Elves are despised in that world. And it kind of follows his journey, and it's very progression / lit RPG-ish. It was before that was a thing, but I think anybody who likes this type of stuff would really, really, really enjoy the journey just to Worden.
Oh, I agree with that. I think that is a very true thing. So, all right. Well, that is going to wrap up our discussion today of Underlord. Thanks again, Soulution and Eradandis, for joining me. Thanks to the Legendarium for letting us spin off their name and read the books that they can't or won't get to. Thanks to Horizon Frey for starting us, and we'll see you guys in the next one.